Why Are You Awake? The podcast where we interview people who are night owls, or in this case, were formerly night owls. This week we have comedian Kellye Howard. Go check her out. Follow her everywhere. If you're listening to this podcast where you used to listen to singles only, go over to the YouTube channel and subscribe and watch us live at paulfcomedy.com. Check out my website, paulfcomedy.com, for upcoming dates. Follow me on Instagram at Paul Farahvar. And don't forget to check out our sponsors. Hey gang, as some of you know, I used to be a practicing lawyer in Chicago. I no longer practice, but from time to time, I need a lawyer. And when I need a lawyer, I call my friend Scott Shapiro. Scott Shapiro has been practicing law for over 25 years in Chicago. He does it all, from workers' compensation to personal injury, employment issues, and even entertainment law and contract needs. If you need a lawyer, call my friend Scott. 312-648-8800. That's 312-648-8800. Or you can email him at scott@scottshapirolegal.com. Tell him I sent you. It's time for Why Are You Awake? My name is Paul Farahvar. If you're listening to this podcast, you can go watch it on my YouTube channel and check it out, see what we look like in real life. This week's episode features one of Chicago's finest comedians. I remember starting and watching her and just being like, if I ever had to follow her, I was like, fuck, this is gonna suck. Kellye Howard.
Hi.
Hi, Kellye.
I'm sleepy.
I know, that's funny because you said that you used to be a night owl and you've changed your ways. I have,
and this is like, as I was driving here, I was like, God damn, Paul.
Why'd you agree to this shit?
I was like, I really was. I was like, for one, it's the coldest night of the winter so far.
It is cold, yeah.
So that automatically makes you sleepy.
Yeah.
You want to cozy in bed, right?
It's
some hot chocolate.
I don't know about that.
Some tea.
Kellye, you were talking before we started about how your name is spelled Kellye, Kellye, and for years,
Kellye with an E. Yep, that's me.
I spelled it right. You can see here on the promo here, because you would close your shows explaining to people Kellye, like Kanye.
But Kellye.
You're right, Kellye. Yeah. And so I obviously that it stuck with everybody, but I was like, oh man.
And weirdos still come up to me like Kellye, and I'm like, it's not pronounced
it's
that
hard
way.
To not
it's just
say it like
spelled that way.
Yeah, but you still say that even though Kanye's been canceled for the last 7 months.
Yeah, but it's Kanye.
Yeah,
you still listen to his music.
My niece
how canceled
loves
is
him.
he really?
My niece loves him, but his mom or her mom doesn't let him listen to it in the car. I
guarantee you, he's listening to.
What do you mean? She's
listening.
Yeah.
Your niece is
listening. She is,
too.
but not in the car. Like when they're in the car, she turns it off. But I told her, I'm like, you got to be. I mean, it's hard to separate the art.
There's people. The neighborhood I live in, I still hear R. Kelly. Okay, so Kanye is good.
Yeah,
he's
in
Gucci.
Comparison.
Yes.
So Kellye, you've been doing comedy for what? How long have you been doing comedy?
You ain't tell me I was gonna have to admit that on the.
At least 13 years.
It's 17 years.
17 years.
I just hit 17 years this year.
And
in
wow,
June.
that's
I know,
amazing.
That shit's a long time.
What was the best year?
Shit.
I'm just fucking with you. 7 years, 7?
Yeah, I honestly don't know. You know what? Real talk. My best year was probably last year when I did Steppenwolf, and that wasn't really stand up, but one woman show. It was my third one, and sold out 4 standing ovations.
Hell yeah!
So I think that was my best year in live performance, not necessarily stand up.
Okay.
Yeah.
That still counts.
Yeah, it was amazing.
So you said you're no longer a night owl.
No, I don't want to call it recovered, because I would just shit on people like you.
Yeah.
So
you've moved on. You've outgrown it.
I've changed my trajectory in terms of like how I want my day to look. Yeah.
Why did you do that?
It was a trip to Thailand.
Okay.
It flipped my schedule. And so we went there for our 10-year wedding anniversary in June. And because it's whatever time it is now, it's 12-hour difference. So it's 8:30 here. It was 8:30 a.m. there. So 5 p.m. here will be 5 a.m. there. So we will be up at the sunrise, going to the temples, listening to the monks chant. And, you know, it's super early, but I wasn't tired because my body still felt Chicago.
Right.
And so after 2 weeks of doing that, then when we got home, I was still waking up around 5:30, 6 o'clock. So I kind of just stuck with it for a while. Yeah, for
and
like
you liked it?
It was okay. I ain't gonna say I liked it.
Okay.
Don't get it twisted. So I stuck with it for like probably about 2 months. And then I slowly started seeing it get like later and later. So it went from like waking up every morning at 5 to waking up every morning at 6 to waking up every morning at 7:30 now. And it was kind of creeping back to like me getting up around 8:30, 9.
But don't you get tired when you have to work or perform at night?
So then late August, I went on a 10-day silent meditation retreat. And for this silent meditation
last
retreat,
August?
yes, this past couple months ago. And for this retreat, the bell went off every morning at 4 a.m. We had to be up at 4 a.m. We had to be in the Dhamma hall to meditate by 4:30. And so because I went through another 10-day stretch after Thailand of getting up at 4:30, and it was hard. I ain't gonna lie. That 4 o'clock bell went off, and I would tell myself, Simba, it is time. Like, that's what I would do every morning. I would do, because that's my favorite movie. I would truly remind myself, like, come on, you can do this. But then when I got back, though, because I went through this whole program of like teaching me how to meditate for this particular style of meditation, I've kind of gotten hooked on it. So now I wake up every morning at 5 a.m. and I get to my meditation. Like, that's the first thing I do.
For the silent meditation, is that the one where you don't talk the whole 2 weeks?
That's why it's silent.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah, no, that's why it's in the title.
So that's you couldn't talk for. How would you communicate with people? You just learn to fucking make eye contact.
You don't communicate. No eye contact, no gestures.
What?
Yes.
How many people is this?
It was probably like, for the women, it had to be at least 40 of us, maybe.
It's
women.
Like a cult.
And then you have the men's side, because the men and the women we take different paths. We eat in different spaces.
Yeah.
But we all meditate together. So you see the men over there and the women over there.
How would you know when to start meditating or stop?
You have a very strict schedule. They give you the schedule on day one. So you know what the schedule is.
So, but like, is someone leading the meditation?
Yeah. And it's 10.5 hours of meditation a day. So you know where you should be. You should be meditating. If you're there,
is it like
you should
one
be
person
meditating.
standing in front of like a group of 39 people or some shit like that?
Well, she's not standing there, but there is somebody sitting at the top of the room.
Okay.
And she's not really instructing you. It's all recorded. So she just hits a button, and then the guy talks, and we're following his instructions.
Did anyone cheat? Like, did you hear people yell out "fuck" or like if they hit something?
No yelling. No, none
yelling?
of that. No yelling. No, actually, nobody really spoke. Everybody kind of just, and some people were fresh meditators, like never meditated a day in their life.
How did you do that?
Well, I've been meditating for 10 years, so I kind of was already in the frame of mind of meditation. Like but I didn't know it was going to be, I ain't going to lie, don't get it twisted. I didn't think it was going to be like this. Like, it was arduous as fuck. It was very hard, especially the first 3 days, because my knees was burning. Like, these are 42-year-old knees.
Right.
And we're sitting in meditation like 10.5 hours a day. And I kept going to the teacher, because that's the only time you can talk, was this 30-minute window.
Oh, you could talk at some point.
You could ask questions, and you had to sign up to talk to the instructor.
Would you just sign up just so you could talk?
Oh my God. I went to her so fucking much, Paul. It was ridiculous.
Like, I just need to fucking
to
talk.
a point where she said, Kellye, I think I am becoming a crutch. That's what she said to me.
You just wanted to talk, probably, right?
Well, I had questions. I'm one of those heady people. So I'm constantly in my head about like, well, if I do this, then what if this? And so I had a lot of questions pertaining to.
But how many of them, did you also have questions like, does this match? Like, you're just trying to talk? Just to talk.
Shit, we wore basically the same thing every day. I mean, you didn't really need to change.
I just mean, like, you're a person that communicates for a living, and you like to talk. We all do. How can you do 2 weeks where you're not talking? It's got to be
motivation,
hard.
determination. Okay. But I also cheated a little bit. The moments I had with the instructor. And then I brought my notebook, and you weren't supposed to have any notebook or any books to read. You shouldn't have anything. You can't have anything.
Can't read?
The whole goal. No, they don't want you to do yoga. You can't bring any yoga mats. They don't want you to do anything, but
this is a cult.
It's introspection. They want you to sit and be within yourself. They want you to be within your body.
How many people didn't make it?
They all made it. I was so surprised. I just knew. The girl next to me, she came late one day, and I was like, damn.
You're not going to make it.
I had a feeling she was already on the edge. Like, she was crying a lot. It was really hard for her. And so one day I think she like overslept after lunch, and she didn't. And right before that, the night before, she went to the instructor and she was crying, and she was just like, my grandmother, and everybody was dying at home for her. Everybody, she was like, and so sick, and so and they're dying, and so I'm like, damn, her whole family finna die. She gotta go, right? Yeah. So, but that's what happens after like day 3. Your brain starts to create all of these reasons why you shouldn't be there.
Right.
So you start ruminating. And because you're sitting in silence and you have no one to talk to, it just gets louder and louder. Like, yes, your grandmother is dying while you're here. FYI.
We all are dying.
She's dying, right? Yeah. And so, but I mean, we are all dying, and I guess she was really in hospice, but she didn't die while we were there. But your brain just does that. It just creates all of these things. And so when she was crying the night before, then the next day she was late, I was like, oh no,
she's gone.
She left. And I was like, that's so sad. Darn. I thought she was going to make it. But then she came in, and I told her on the last day, because we can talk. I was like, I'm so happy you made it. I thought you wasn't going to make it. I'm so happy you made it.
Do you did you stay in touch with any of those people? Like,
we do. We have a What's Up group chat that we very rarely interact with, but I do have it there. Yeah. And I do have a few people that is actually from the Chicago area that because most people flew in.
Where was it at?
Pacatonoma, Illinois, right outside of Rockford.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's easy for you.
Yeah, it was like 2 hours.
So that after you did this meditation thing, then you confirmed that you're no longer part of the night owl.
Not
cult?
Confirmed. I just so here's the thing that really got me with it, because I was doing the meditation. I would get up at 5 a.m. Then I started the gym routine where right after I meditate, so I get up at 5, I make my bed, I brush my teeth, I'm on my mat by 5:30.
You make your bed every day?
Every day. I was in the military. Of course I make my bed every day.
I've never made my bed.
Yes.
I think I've made my bed 3 times in my life.
It also gives you structure. It gives you a lot of structure to make your bed first thing in the morning.
Okay, fair enough.
So I make my bed, I brush my teeth, I sit on my mat by 5:30. I'm on there for an hour and 5 minutes. So I do an hour of meditation and then 5 minutes of like gratitude and pouring love out into the world and the universe and hoping that everybody else is well, right? So I do that for 5 minutes. About 6:35, I go down, I eat my breakfast, I have a little coffee, and then I walk to the gym. Because I finally live somewhere where I can walk to the gym. And so I walk to the gym and I do that, and I'm there from 7 to like 9ish. And so when I started that routine, it just became like this thing that felt good to do every day, like Monday through Friday. I'm like, oh man, I'm on it, right? Then I had a show, because that was going to be the telltale, because I hadn't had any shows. I was traveling, we were moving, I wasn't taking shows. So I was able to get in bed by like 9:30 every night.
Right.
And so then I had a show, and I didn't get in bed till like 12:30 or something like that. I got home, I brushed my teeth, washed my face, got ready for bed, 12:30. And I was like, this gonna be the one. This gonna tell me. 5 o'clock hit, that alarm went off. I got up and got to my mat, and I was like, okay, bitch, I see you on this mission.
When you do the prayers throughout love, you said you do the 5 minutes of gratitude and everything like that. Do you also ever like sneak in but I hope that motherfucker Janice gets hers? Like, do you ever have like
never
one negative?
Never.
What about, all right.
Never. You know what? My entire brand is be less petty, bro. Is be less of that.
But that means that you're a little petty.
Oh, I'm very petty, which is hence why I had to create a whole brand.
You're trying to be less petty, but that insinuates that you have some pettiness.
I have pettiness in me.
So therefore, I would feel like every once in a while I just slip in like, but I hope that motherfucker Chris gets
after
his.
A meditation. Like if I need to slip that in after a meditation, bitch, I ain't gonna never not be petty. Like I'm gonna be petty forever until death.
Okay.
But what I did is I do have my petty moments, but it's usually after I've like lived the day. Like I'm in the midst of my day and something happens and I react petty because I'm not in my centered space. Sure. I'm not in my having just meditated. I'm back in reactive mode, you know?
So let's talk about when you did have that one show. You said you did your routine when you went to bed. It was 12:30. You were able to fall asleep after a show? Like, because it takes a while. Doesn't it take you a while to come down from a show, especially when you're doing your one woman shows where
those
a lot
were
of adrenaline.
Different.
Okay.
Those were different. One woman show was a way different emotional. I was pulling from a different space.
It doesn't matter. It's still
stand up though. I've been doing it 17 years.
Sure.
I can go to sleep while performing stand up.
But you still have a rush where your brain is still, I mean, there's still endorphins kicking in where you can't fall asleep.
That goes away as you're driving home. You're driving home, it kind of.
How far is your drive home?
I live out south, so and I'm usually doing shows up north, so at least 20 minutes.
Fair.
Yeah, it doesn't really, I don't know. And I've never had a problem falling asleep either. Like, I've always been one of those type of people where as soon as my head hit the pillow,
you fall asleep?
I'm good.
God, what's that like?
Very rarely. Like tonight, I might be up a little bit just because I'm drinking a kombucha.
Okay.
So I might be up for a hot minute. I might have to like concentrate on my breath. But for the most part.
When you were a night owl, was it because of your shows? Because you were in the military. Mm-hmm. So you were trained to go to bed. I'm assuming you guys went to bed on a structured time and things like that. When you were a night owl, was it because of the lifestyle of being a comedian, or were you ever a night owl when you were a kid or anything like that?
I justified it because I was a comedian.
Okay.
That's how and I mean, it's been 17 years, so I don't even remember like way back before that. It's been 17 years.
Okay, but when you were a kid though, did you go to bed on time?
I don't remember anything about my childhood. It's called trauma, Paul. What are we doing here? What is this podcast?
That's different podcast.
It's a completely different podcast.
People think that while you are awake, it's about anxiety and stuff like that, but it's not. It's just about fucking being up late. But no, we can talk about that too. So your earliest memories that you do have, were you ever someone that were you like awake when you shouldn't have been, things like that? Do you remember that as a child or as a young adult in high school?
As a child, no. Young adult though, I mean, I would go out and kick it, you know what I mean? I would hang out, and then when I started comedy, which I was 26 at the time, so you know, that's right in the middle of hanging out and kicking it anyway, and so it just continued. It just became a thing that I was up late, and then I had a job, so at times when I had to get up at 9 and go to work, I did. But in 2010, that's the last year that I worked a regular 9 to 5. And so since 2010, I've been a night owl. I've been and I would justify it. Like I would create at night. I would write at night. I would, even if I didn't have shows, I would be up at night watching Netflix with my computer on my laptop till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Right. You know, getting up at 9, 10 o'clock a.m. Okay. And I justified the hell out of it.
But when you had a job, you weren't a night owl because you had to wake up, you know, after your shows or whatever. You said 2010, so there was an overlap of like 5 years where you had to be, you know, go to work and also be a comedian at night, right? Mm-hmm, yeah. So how did you make that work?
Just slept less. It's just, what do? You know what I mean? Like if you chasing this dream, for especially those first years, you got to be out here. You gotta be on the scene, several shows a night sometimes. So, yeah.
So what about your relationship with your family though? Are they all, when you were a night owl, was your husband a night owl too?
No. So many arguments. Like I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm probably not a night owl anymore because of my husband. My husband gets up every morning, 4 a.m. without an alarm clock.
Jesus.
Every morning, like without, and I mean, I recently posted this clip actually on my IG where he wakes up like, not like most people where you're like, let me get to this day. No, he wakes up like he's in a fucking musical. Like he is alive. He is ready for life.
Is he one of those people that doesn't need a lot of sleep, or is he
doesn't need a lot of sleep, but he wants a lot of sleep, but his body just doesn't give it to him. Like he's in bed. If he's in bed before 9, he's absolutely waking up about 2 a.m. and he's going to be up. If he
just stays up,
he's going to be up. So he tries to go to bed between 9 and 10, and then he'll sleep till about 3:34. He does take naps.
That's how you should do it.
He does take naps, but it's brief. It's like 20 minutes, you know.
20 minutes in the afternoon is equal to an hour.
That's what he does, and he takes naps. Me though, I've never been a napper. If I lay down, I'm done. So if I lay down in the afternoon, that's it.
So how would you make the relationship work when you guys had different hours during the times where you were a night owl and your kids too, right? So like how did you?
I'm a comedian.
Right.
That's how I justify it.
But how would you see them? When would you see them? Or what would you like, did you make an effort? Did you have to make an effort to like, okay, we're going to have dinner as a family before I go to
absolutely. Okay. So I did a lot of dinner as a family before stuff. I go to shows. Yep. And just be there, be attentive to them. And then when I'm gone for my show, I'm just out for the night. And when I get in, everybody else is asleep. But it was many nights too, like tonight. In fact, my husband does all the cooking. Yes, and I live within walking distance of a gym. I am living the life. Okay. So my husband does all the cooking, and like tonight I had to go to this thing, which is so late, right? Yeah. and he's cooking, so my food will be ready for me when I get home. It'll be in a microwave. So there's been plenty times where I've had to leave before dinner was done,
right?
And so he'll just be there with the girls. And even when I remember many times where I had shows the night before and I would wake up and he's up with the girls, he's cooking them breakfast, getting them all ready for school, when they were younger, and doing the whole morning thing just because it wasn't my forte.
Yeah.
You would only,
but you said even when you were a night owl, you'd still wake up at 9 or 10 p.m. in the morning or 10 a.m.
Yeah, the latest I would wake up is like 11 at the absolute latest. But that was like rare occasions. I would usually be up by 9, 10.
But you're doing shows sometimes. You don't have the luxury of being only 20 minutes away, right? Because you did the road. You did shows on the road where you had to drive sometimes. How would you do that? How would that work out?
The furthest I've done where I wasn't given a hotel was like probably 40 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Like I don't take shows out in Bumblefuck without a hotel. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, late at night, because what happens if I get tired on the road? Like it's just too risky.
Sure.
Yeah.
But if you're on the road and you did get a hotel, wouldn't you just kick it later with the other comedians that you're working with?
Never.
Really?
I'm so lame when it comes to that because I don't drink either.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Like when you're out with them late at night, they're usually just getting hammered and talking shit. I don't drink and I'm trying to be less petty. So I don't want to do either of those things. You know what I mean? So I just go back to the hotel and probably do some work, some writing, some, I don't know, read a self-help book. You know what I mean? Meditate, something like that.
Did you, when you said that you would used to be, I mean, for me, after shows or whatever, even if I don't have a show late at night is where I'm the most creative, right?
Yeah.
I think 90% of my writing, maybe not after a show, but the nights I don't have shows, I'm writing, I'm editing stuff, whatever. I'm so productive, and I'm single. You're with a family. I would assume that that's the only time you would have to yourself where you are not being disrupted and you can get shit done.
Well, my husband works during the day, so he's not disrupting me. The girls are either in school or not, but my daughters are also 22 and 23.
That's insane.
So I don't have young kids. I don't have kids that even want to talk to me barely. You know what I'm saying? Like they want to live their lives. Actually, that's not true. My 23-year-old is like, Mom, but the other one, we can barely get her to come by for a family dinner. We like, so will we see you ever? Maybe. Yeah. It's just what it is. So I've never had the whole issue of like not being able to create because my family was present. I just think I did my best creations late at night. It just was the way my brain was set up until I went to Thailand. And I think it's also narrative, right? The narrative we've written for ourselves. So I wrote the narrative that I can only be creative at night. I have to be up till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I was reinforcing that in my brain and telling myself also that I just wasn't a morning person. I had said that for so long. So once I proved that to not be the case after that meditation retreat, because Thailand was different. It's like we're on a completely different time.
Vacation, right?
Completely different time frame too. So we're on time zone. Sure. It's 5 p.m. where I live. So I can't really say that I'm getting up early. It's 5 p.m. where I live, But when I did that retreat and that 4 a.m. bell went off and every morning I was up by like 4:05, that changed.
Why do they do the 4 a.m. bell? Is the meditation that you're a part of, do they push the idea that you should be awake before the sun goes up? Or is that, why don't they have the bell go off at like noon and then make people, why do they pick
it is traditional Buddhist teachings. And so, the Buddha.
I just feel like society pushes us to wake up, when a bank opens, you should be able to go there. But I feel like, fuck that. I'd rather be productive late at night where nobody's bothering me.
Well, you have that, but my husband is the most productive in the morning because there's nobody up. And so he edits photos, he does yoga, he does all these things. Back when I was a night owl, he would do all these things before 9 a.m.
Yeah.
And then I would wake up and he's, and now he's doing his 9 to 5 because he's already done all his creative stuff.
Right.
From 4 to 9.
But you can do that stuff late at night too. I've talked about it on this podcast where I'll do a show in Texas or wherever, and I go back. I don't drink either. So after the show, I'm wide awake. I'll go work out at the gym. It's a 24-hour gym. Nobody's in the gym. I get to do a full workout where I don't have to wait for, someone on the elliptical or whatever. And then I go, I'm wide awake now. I can write for another hour and a half.
Yeah.
And then I could sleep in because guess what? There's nothing to do in that small ass town in Albuquerque.
And everybody sleep.
Yeah. So who cares? Like, I
Yeah.
just want to be, for me, I want to be the best of I want to be in my prime when I'm doing shows at 7 or 9 p.m. and I'm not going to be tired.
Yeah. And if you've trained yourself to be up
Right.
and then.
But I was always a night owl. Like even before I did comedy, I was a musician where I was always late. When I used to drink a lot, I would be the last one at the bar. I felt like I was missing out.
Mm-hmm.
And I still kind of do too. It's like if I go to bed at 11, I feel like I'm missing out on something. Right? Like something happens overnight. You're like, oh, I'll be the first to know that Rosalind Carter died.
You said right? No, not right. Not for me.
Not for you?
Not for me. 10 o'clock in the bed before, I would prefer to be in the bed by 10 tonight.
Okay.
That's just how my brain is now set up. But I also love my mornings. I've learned to love my mornings. I've learned to love getting up, meditating, and going to the gym. Like that's really impactful for how the rest of my day looks. But I'm also in a different zone. I do post a lot of stand-up and I do still do stand-up comedy, but I'm also acting a lot more and doing other things that do take place during the day.
I mean, during COVID, I think I saw your commercial a billion times, the commercial with you and your fake
the Humira
daughters.
commercial.
Yeah, Humira commercial.
Those are my sisters.
They really?
Daughter. They were they're not my real sisters, but that's what they were playing.
Right.
They were sisters.
I was like, they weren't related to you.
No.
Yeah, that commercial was on every fucking day.
I know.
Do you get residuals on that?
Yes, we got. Yes.
That's why you moved.
It was very. No, that's not why. That's not why. In fact, I shitted that money away so terribly. You just don't know that it's like gonna abruptly stop. You assume like, oh, I'm killing it, right? These checks are coming, and then you like, wait, I didn't get a check this week. What happened? It's like, oh yeah, no, it's done. What do you mean done? What do you mean done? What about all this credit card debt I've accrued in the process of knowing that I was
going to be going forever?
In the process of knowing I was going to get a check to pay it off. Like, what the fuck?
So let's go back to what you're talking about, where at night you used to do this Netflix thing where you'd write and your computer be on and like that. Now you're doing that in the morning after you work out, you meditate, you work out, and then you're no one's at home. That's where do you have alone time where you can actually be creative now? Your daughters are
absolutely.
Gone? Okay.
I will say this though. Admittedly, I will say that I have noticed specifically writing stand-up comedy has like I have my window, I have my 15 minutes that I sit and I do my little thing, but I don't have a lot of stretch time out of that where I'm really creative. So I have my 15 minutes a day that I commit to myself where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna write stand up during this 15-minute
every
window.
day.
Yeah, because I have a book that I don't know if you've ever seen my Joker's Journal. Have you seen that? Well, I brought it. Yum, yum, yum.
Joker's Journal?
So I teach it to Paul right down the street, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so I made a Joker's Journal for my class.
Okay.
I also sell it on Amazon and I also use it myself. But yeah, and it's laminated because I'm anal about fingerprints. Sure. But yeah, it's just a book. And in here though, the brainstorming tools and stuff, writing, it's an intro where you make a commitment to yourself of how long you're going to work. And so the commitment is that I would do at least 15 minutes of uninterrupted comedy writing 6 days a week.
What constitutes writing to you? Writing in a journal, or do you count like other things?
So I've learned to count other things just because I don't always sit down and go right to this, but I will have a moment where I'm constantly texting bits and thoughts and things like that to myself. But I also have a time on my schedule. So I get back from the gym, I have breakfast. After breakfast, I shower and I get dressed, and then I sit down at my desk to start my day. Right when I sit down at my desk to start my day, the first thing on my to-do list is check my text messages. So I check the text messages that I've been sending to myself over the last 24 hours.
You could just put it in notes.
And then I look, but I never really come back. Like I have so many notes I have so
Texting
many.
forces you to look at
It forces. It's just
That's
whatever
fine.
it is.
That's a
I
good
have
move.
so many notes created. It's not even helpful anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I texting it to myself, and then I have my little indicator on my calendar that says check text messages, and then I just go through and sift through my text messages and see what jokes work, what to-dos I gotta do, because I text myself other things too, and then I'll have my little comedy window where it is 15 minutes a day where I try to focus strictly on this book,
the actual writing in that book.
writing in this book.
Okay.
Because it's like setup, punchline. It has lines specifically for that. It has brainstorming tools.
Setup punchline. You're not a setup punchline.
So
you're a storyteller.
That's not true though. You can, even within stories, is a setup and a punchline.
I know that, but I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
your traditional.
It doesn't matter. It's still all in there. Like, I don't even have any. Like, I have one where my setup was, I was having some weird dreams at the retreat, and the misdirect is I killed Shamar Moore. He was a cop, and I killed him.
Okay.
So that's like a start of a bit that it's not the whole
It's
bit
fucking
yet,
hilarious.
but it's a start. No, it's not. It's fucking, but it's a start.
Murder is always
funny.
funny.
Yeah. It's like something I can go back to, and I know that this is where I'm setting it up, and this is where I'm. So it's not necessarily how I write, but it's how I'm teaching.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And the bigger issue is, like, when I first started, I was like, what is something that I wish I had have understood as a new comic? One, the concept of setup, punchline, misdirect. That whole concept. Because I started as like just somebody that was getting on stage and somebody was like, you funny, you should do this. And I just got up there and was like, hey, I'm funny and I'm gonna do this. I had no direction. I had no understanding of how to write a joke. None of that. I would just get up there and rant, which is great. It built a muscle that a lot of joke writers don't have.
Right.
So it was a great muscle to build. However, I wish I had to learn that earlier in my career, because it would have completely changed how I was able to maneuver in certain spaces with certain jokes and certain material. I didn't understand that until I started teaching it.
How did you start comedy? What was it? Were you in the military when you started, or you got out?
No, I wasn't. I actually did get out. I told them that I wanted to be a comedian and an actress, and that I couldn't do this thing no more, this military thing no more.
Where were you stationed?
That's how I was a reserve. So I wasn't
okay.
I was at Grissom Air Force Base, and I told my sergeant, I said, yo, I want to be an actress and a comedian. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be an electrician. And if you call me to war, I'm fleeing. I'm telling you now. So
Fair.
You might as well go and just let me go. And he gave me a general discharge. And so I was able to get out.
What does that mean?
Earlier, which just basically means like you don't get any of the benefits.
Oh.
So it's not a dishonorable. It's not an honorable. It's just a general, which kind of sucks, because had I known what I know now, I was young and I was like, I'm going to be famous in the next 7 years. It's fine. I don't have to worry about any of this. I'm going to be rich. I'm going to be famous. I'm going to be like Eddie Murphy. Done. Had I known, I could have bought a house. I could get so many things at a very discounted rate if I would have just stayed in.
How long would you have to
additional year?
1 year?
No, it wasn't one. I think it was 2.5.
Oh, you wouldn't have made it.
But I might have.
I know, but you wouldn't have been happy.
I wouldn't have been happy, but I would have been happy at
And
that
who knows what would have
that
happened?
0% APR when I went to buy a house.
Buy a house or cars too, right?
Anything.
Yeah,
It's so many discounts. I just now got veteran on my driver's license. So they did give me the veteran thing, but it's
you
still
get veteran parking sometimes.
I get but I still don't get any of the like real military benefits. It sucks.
So what was the first time? So you told your sergeant you want to get out. You got out.
Mm-hmm.
What happened next?
Well, I was
an
just
open
working.
mic or something.
No. I was just working and going to Columbia. I was studying acting. That's what I told him I was getting out. I didn't tell him I was getting out because I didn't even know.
Wait, where was the base?
In Grissom Air Force Base.
Is that the one
Indiana?
Indiana. Okay, Go ahead.
Yeah. So I just got out because I wanted to be an actress. Started studying at Columbia.
Acting there? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Getting paid for by the GI Bill. So contradictory. So that I was getting, they were paying for my college.
You still got that.
Yeah, I did get that. And so I was studying at Columbia and working at Foot Locker, working for the Department of Homeland Security, TSA. So I had 2 jobs.
Damn.
Yeah, I had 2 jobs. I was at Columbia full time, and I had a kid that I was neglecting. And so I was at Foot Locker, and this dude just was in there. This producer guy was in there, and it was like a Latino family, Latinx, I think I'm supposed to say, family in there, and they were speaking Spanish and looking at shoes and shit. And I'm like, hey, do you need help with anything? And the dude was like, oh, I don't speak no English, right? And I was like, okay, well, I don't speak Spanish, so I guess we're not talking, right? And so then he walked out because it was a mall. He walked out right in front of the store and started speaking perfectly. I'm talking crisp fucking English. You understand what I'm saying? Crisp.
Wow. Yeah.
Like better than me probably. And so he's talking to his buddies and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna run over there real quick. You going down? Oh, cool. And it pissed me off because I'm like, you could have just said,
I'm not interested.
I'm not interested, or we're just looking. We're just looking.
Right.
What happened to common courtesies, right? Why do you have to lie? And so I just started roasting him. I don't even know what I was saying. I don't remember.
You went out there?
No, I didn't go out there. I was working. So I was roasting the dude to the other employees.
Oh,
you know,
he didn't hear you.
No, he walked out and I was roasting him, right? And the producer guy that was in there buying shoes was like, you are funny as hell. Have you ever tried stand-up comedy? And I was like, no. And he was like, I do this show that I produce at the Hilton and the Holiday Inn in Madison, back when Damon Williams was hosting it.
Oh, yeah.
Way back when. He was like, if you would be willing to do 5 minutes of stand-up comedy, I'll give you a spot. And I was like, okay. And I wasn't even old enough. You had to be 25 or older to get in. I think I was 24 and this was in 2004. So technically, if you count the time that I've ever first got on the stage, it's been 19 years.
Okay.
But I don't count from that date because of this reason. So I do the show, right? I invite everybody from TSA where I was working, Department of Homeland Security. I invite everybody from Foot Locker. I'm like, come out and see me. And it's so funny because at TSA, one of my buddies, I was like, I don't know what my comedy name gonna be. You know, I was like, I need a comedy name. And he was like, your ass is shaped like a grapefruit. You should go by Grapefruit. And so I was Grapefruit. Bro, I was Grapefruit. Like, ask Damon Williams.
I think I remember you telling that story.
Yes, I
before.
was Grapefruit.
You told that story at a show. I remember you telling that story.
So trash. Not knowing that my career is going nowhere under the name of Grapefruit. And so I was Grapefruit. And I went up there. I did probably the most terrible 5 minutes. I don't know, but I did really good. Like, people were laughing. Sure. And then I got like a partial standing ovation, which was really just all the people that came with me was like really proud, you know? And then the next week, Damon called me and said, yo, I got this show in Gary I want to book you for. It's $30, some wings, if you're willing to come out there. And I'm like, fuck yeah. And I made $30 my second time ever doing stand-up with wings, right? And I'm like, this is it right here. I'm gonna be rich. I'm gonna be famous.
What did you do for those 5 minutes that you did?
I think I talked about like old people stepping, because I was young at the time. I was 24 and I was still going to the club and I was still hanging out. And I talked about like old people coming to the club and trying to step while juke music is on, while I'm out here doing other stuff. Like, I'm popping, I'm twerking, I'm doing all this, and you out here trying to do the two-step, fucking up my vibe. And so I like talked about that. And I think I talked about like farting on a date or having a shit real bad.
But you had acting skills, right? So you could have sold these. You were acting them out.
Yeah, oh, for sure. I've always been an act out performer. That's been my thing. So I was definitely improv, acting out, having fun, just kind of being up there doing whatever. Really, I'm just like, this is just these are people at the barbecue. These are like my family. You know, I'm just up here, whatever. And I kind of performed from that space for like, I don't know, a couple more times. And then after Damon paid me though, I went back to TSA and put in a transfer to LA. I was like, I'm out of here, nigga. I'm finna be famous. Like, there's no point in me being here. I'm rich. I'm like, I got $30.
Gary, yeah.
I literally quit. I quit school.
Oh, wow.
I transferred to Los Angeles, LAX, drove 30-something hours to LA, lived with my mom's boyfriend's sister at the time for a couple months until I started sexing this dude, and then we moved in together, and that was trash for about a year. And then I got my own place when my daughter moved up there, and then I didn't do any stand-up
while you were in LA.
No, I was living in 80 and 90 degree weather for the first time in my life, with a job that was paying me $40,000 a year. Like, I was living my life. I was 25 living my life. And so, and then too, when my daughter moved up there though, it's just not realistic to try to do stand up with a 5-year-old. Like, how would I do that? And I had no family, no nothing up there. So
go out at night, babysitting.
There's no way. There's no way. Like, I would have been basically setting her up for molestation. Yeah.
How long did you stay out in LA?
2 years.
Okay.
So 2006 is when I left TSA and moved back to Chicago, because I had an audition for, well, it was a cattle call for the Hot Girls of Comedy.
Okay, yeah. Was that Jenny McCarthy or whatever?
I think she was.
Yeah,
she did have something to do with it. No. That was something else. Something else.
Okay.
This was Pauly Shore's minding the store. Okay. Remember that
Vaguely,
reality show where
Before
he took over the show, took over the Comedy Store from Mitzi, and so then he had like a segment where it was all about the women in comedy on his show, and we had 1 minute to make Pauly Shore laugh. And it was this cattle call, so the line was like wrapped around the corner, and all these women think they're funny.
Here in Chicago,
at the Comedy Store, no, in LA.
Oh, this was in LA.
This was in LA, and so I did this this cattle call, and I was in line with, I don't know if you know who Gabrielle Dennis is.
No.
She played on Black Lady Sketch Show, and now she's on that new Apple TV show where they get in that box that has the butterfly on the side, and it tells you your future.
Okay.
Whatever.
People are going to be.
She played Whitney.
This. Okay.
Whitney Houston. She played that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, but
She's
Gabrielle Dennis is in this line with me. Now, granted, I've been on stage twice, right?
Gary and
the Holiday Inn. And so I'm in line with her, and she's like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I've never really done stand up. I think I'm funny, but I was like, girl, you just got to get up there and be like this, whoop the bam. And I'm like I'm like coaching her through do this. I'm so fucking confident, right? And I'm just like, you got to woo wop bam. And we both had Altimas at the time. I remember we both had the same car, and we were like super cool, and we both landed that shit.
Wow.
I got up there. I had 1 minute to make him laugh, and I did Tourette's. I remember because I just was like cursing. I was like, fuck these bitches, motherfucker, shit. And I was like, so I don't really fuck with my dad like that. And then I just would like say something random, and then I would go back and be like, motherfucker. And I would start cursing again. And Pauly Shore, in his twisted mind, was cracking up laughing. Like,
that's awesome.
And that's all you needed to do was make him laugh. And so we both booked it, did 7 minutes of stand up on TV. When it came out edited, I was in the group of women at the end just doing this. My set never aired. Right. But it was no awe. It was a wake up call that I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. That's what it was. It was like, oh.
You got to write.
You need to write. You need to
you got to be a night owl. You can write late at night.
You have to do something, because this isn't it. This isn't it. And so I was like, if I'm gonna really do stand up, I got to be in Chicago. I got to have that support system with my daughter. I don't feel comfortable here in LA trying to do that. Right. And so I moved back home in 2006, in June of 2006. And so that's the date that I count from officially starting stand up comedy, which was June of 2006.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So it's been 17 years.
Damn.
And that's how we got started, all from that Foot Locker situation.
Should have stuck with grapefruit.
Oh God. We wouldn't be having this conversation right now if I was grapefruit.
Should have stuck with grapefruit and should have kept on being a late night person. I don't know why you fucking sold out.
I know. You know, sometimes like now where I'm like, man, I kind of don't fucking miss it. I'm sleepy. I want to go home. I want to go the fuck home.
Well, I thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you coming, Kellye. I'm happy that you came, and we've known each other for a while. We weren't really close until like later. I just remember
start
one
putting
time,
cards on my car.
Yeah, I used to fuck with you. I'd see your car. It's a very distinct car, and I just put my old law firm cards on the door. And you're like, motherfucker! It would just hype you up. But I think when we started to become closer is when there were a few times we were at a show at Laugh Factory, and we didn't know anyone on the lineup. We're like, who are these fucking people? Like, we were just like, I guess we got to start knowing all these people. They're taking all our slots, and we're just God. Like, yeah, it's new. It's a new generation. But
and I see that so much, and even when I get a spot now, there, I'm like,
I don't know anybody.
I don't know any of these comedians.
Well, I leave for like 2 months if I'm on the road or whatever. I come back and it's a totally different. I'm like, I don't know, and no one knows. And there's like new staff, and like, can I help you at the door? I'm everything. Like, bitch, I've been here before you were here. Like, I've been
so
here
many
since
people
the start.
Is like, excuse me, can I check your bag? I'm like, bitch, my face on the wall over there. Go outside.
Go outside, look,
and look. I'm outside.
There, yeah. Kellye, thank you so much. Where can people find out more about your upcoming projects and everything you got going on?
So you have my website, KellyeHoward.com. That's KELLYE. So like Kanye.
There you go.
But Kellye. Last name Howard, HOWARD. And my Instagram is the same. All of my social handles are the same, Kellye Howard. And I post a lot of stuff on Instagram, and yeah.
Come check her out, everybody. Thank you, Kellye. I really appreciate you coming on. And thank you all for watching or listening to another episode of Why Are You Awake?
Because I'm not.